Good morning.
Morning.
And welcome to Shamanic Sundays, folks.
Oh.
Good to be here with all of you. Hi, Heather. See you out there already. Sean. So would you like to start us off with a morning prayer? We
Yes.
always like to start with gratitude. It's a good place to start from.
Yeah. Thank you for this breath, Great Spirit. Thank you for the gift of awareness and consciousness of awareness, a gift of grace that comes with the breath that you create and give to us because you want us here. We're not here by accident. So thank you for giving us the opportunity for a human incarnation. Thank you for giving us this opportunity of this day to do our best, embracing our full humanness, to live our values and through all our relations. And speaking of relations, we give thanks to our ancestors. We wouldn't be here without you and the ancestor spirits of the land we live on. We remember you here, honor you and the people. And thank you for our families, our communities, our work in the world. Thank you for the gifts that you give us in this life. Sacred beings and gifts of medicine that you give to us to grow and nurture to fullest blossoming, greatest good in service, not of ego, but in service of you, and in alignment with the purpose that you give us our lives for. And thank you for this opportunity to join our hearts, minds, and spirits together, those listening live and those who will be listening downstream at your own convenience, to empower and polish up our stardust to live, love, alive in 2025, and the healing of the sacred hoop. May it be so. Oh,
thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right.
So, subject of today is navigating conflict, and certainly there's very few times in the world where there isn't conflict to navigate. Whether it's waking up in the morning and being like, oh, I really don't want to get out of bed, but I have so much to do. I have to go to work. Or, oh my gosh, I have to go have that rough talk with somebody I really don't want to have, or the bigger conflicts in the world. And so we thought it would be cool and hopefully helpful to talk about what are some ancient wisdom ways, practices that go back to nature and indigenous wisdom that you've learned and been taught, that we can bring to our daily lives to help us navigate conflict in I wanted to say a healthier way, because if we don't have conflict on some level, we probably wouldn't be here anymore. So it's a part of life. How do we deal with it better? What comes up for you, Dad?
Well, first thing that comes up is conflict means on a certain level of my consciousness, I'm not accepting of what's happening. I don't like it. It's not what I want. Personally, in my body, in my life, my relationships, what's happening in the world, politically, environmentally, it's not what I want. And so it creates a constriction to resist or oppose or shut down or the truth of what's happening. And the truth is that no matter how hard we practice, whatever our practices are, because not everything is going to go the way we want it to go, it's going to trigger our reactivity. And the workings of the coyote, the trickster, to find those places inside of us that below the level of conscious awareness that if the coyote can figure out a stimulus to activate them, coyote's pretty good at doing that. So basically, we're going to have what we experience as conflict is a part of life, not getting what we want and seeing what our reactivity is to that. So the start of a skillful response to it is giving myself permission to notice with the observing witness without judgment my reactivity patterns. Actually, this morning when I was in my deep meditation and before I get out of bed and doing meditation and visualizations and prayers of gratitude, it's a time of like really connecting with spirit to start the day and align with my values and intention and sense of purpose. And And so I was thinking about, I forget what it was. Oh yeah, right. I got feedback from one of the editors of my book, which is now coming out into the bookstores, I think on
2 days, Tuesdays. Woohoo!
Yeah. So
go to his website if you don't have an order in to get your copy, or you can get it on all the major booksellers.
So I
get that plug in.
I thank you. I got an email from one of the editors who said was thankful for me mentioning him in gratitudes in the book, but he said you spelled my last name wrong. So he was very gracious and forgiving about it, but it just made me laugh at myself. And then I was just looking at the book, and I noticed some other, what my ego would judge as mistakes in the book. And so it made me laugh at what I call my bungling self. And so I wrote back to him and said, well, at least I'm consistent in my bungling. And it's a valuable trait to have if accepted without judgment, that I just bungle things all the time every day. I think
we all do. We're kind of like just bungling. We're like molecules
exactly
bumping and bungling through our
right. I think that's part of
our days, right? Part of our humanness.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's part of the human condition. And so how to embrace the bunglingness of our human condition without judgment, with compassion, with honoring the truth that we're human beings, and we're always ongoing process, and also then remembering that there's more to me than the bungling aspect of myself. There's more to us than that, and to embrace and connect and attune with that moreness of who we are, the truth of our essence being connected to with the creative wisdom power of the universe. And the essence energy of that is infinite unconditional light and love, and we're luminous beings, sacred, worthy, luminous beings. So using conflict to heighten the functionality of our observing witness, to really see our reactivity, our unskillful, unconsciously conditioned reactivity to the stimulus, and recognize that's not a bad thing. That's in fact an opportunity to wake up, to wise up and remember the truth of who we are. And we're in the specific situation that we're in, where our ego is experiencing and telling a story about it as conflict, not by accident. And how is this an opportunity for me to see deeper into my own reactivity, my own unconsciously conditioned judgments and evaluations and behaviors that are unskillful because they're based on the perception of separation and letting ego run the show and try to control everything. And when it gets what it wants, it's happy, and when it doesn't, has its own hissy fit on whatever level it is. So using when we're triggered and our witness notices it as vehicles of opportunity to work on our consciousness, to wake up, to see how we were stuck in that constricted ego identity, and what is it I need to pull the plug on to let go of that constriction, to release myself from that constriction and open up to what's always present, my oneness with infinite creative wisdom, power, energy of the universe, and the infinite peace and wisdom and love and strength and access to that creativity that lives in all of us through grace. And this is the day we're given in the situation of opportunity to wake up and to live the truth of who we are and be a channel for healing, light, and love into myself, ourselves, and to the person, people, situations we're in conflict, and try to understand where they're coming from, what the conditions of their life have been that led to doing what they're doing, which doesn't mean passive acceptance of unjust or hurtful or discriminatory behavior. Show up and do what we can to address those issues and causative factors, but don't do it from a closed, hard, judgmental place. Do it from an open place, from a place of knowing how on the deepest level we're all connected and we're here to help each other and show up with the fullest blossoming, greatest good of our highest potentials. And every day is an opportunity to work on that, and the troublesome button-pushing situations are the best vehicles of opportunity to do that inner work on ourselves. Alchemical transformation. Oh. Ooh, that was long-winded.
Long one.
Oh my God.
So one of my questions is like, if we know, well, let's just say we do know that there's oftentimes going to be conflict. How can we? What are some tools that we can use that take the charge out of a little bit, right? Because like I know I'll just share for myself, oftentimes when I know I'm going into a conversation that is going to have some charge, a lot of it is around like, I want to control the outcome a little bit, right? Like I'm like, I want to get to the peaceful part already quickly. How can we get there quickly? I want to make sure that what I'm saying is heard and that I'm actually hearing what the other person or people are saying. And so the more I can let go of that and just focus on, being open and present to recognizing that, yeah, there is conflict, and let's just work through it. It's not a fault. Let's open to it and see what we can go with it.
Yeah, let's explore it. Let's explore what's going on here rather than immediately try to get out of it or make it go away or put fancy bows on it, try to make it look better. If there's conflict, there's values and beliefs and fears and anxieties all present in that energy field. And Arnold Mundell, who started the process work, wonderful approach to consciousness expansion. Start with the shaman's body. Arnold Mundell, wonderful work. He talks about primary and secondary processes, and primary processes is what we identify with as our ego and our plans, and secondary processes are the things that disturb or get in the way or block or negate our primary process. And our culture teaches us to see those as a negative thing. This is, and Mendel speaks about, no, the reason those secondary processes, disruptions, opposition, conflict are happening is because you're dreaming too small. You're stuck in your ego and your reactivity and wanting to control. And so you're being given an opportunity to grow in consciousness. And so to hold a mental framework, you might say, of recognizing the secondary processes, the things we don't want to have happen on our ego level. That's a natural part of life, and how to befriend them. And so, again, if there's conflict, let me first try to, instead of my ego wanting for my voice to be heard and my rightness, my beliefs and everything, let me, like Aikido training, bring my awareness to the other person. And I want to try to understand what's going on in their consciousness, what they're experiencing, and perhaps open a doorway to understanding where that's coming from. Because the more I can get that information of what's going on inside of them, the more I can create a skillful response to it. So Mendel talks about the notion of, if there's conflict, it's important for all the voices to be heard. Not just the ones my ego wants to hear, but the potential of opening the door to using conflict to help bring about joining through mutual understanding. And then on the deepest level, we all have the same human needs, different ways of trying to meet them, sometimes unskillful, that leads to the conflict. Marshall Rosenberg's work, get in touch with what are the underlying needs of this other person that isn't being met in a way that's meaningful for them. And so they're, putting the energy out from a conflictual place. So the more I can understand that, rather than pushing, you got to hear my voice, it's the most important thing, and I'm right and you're wrong. Recognize that impulse of the ego, that egotism that wants to do its thing like that. Don't give it the power to run the show. Breathe in, breathe out. Let go, open to the calming breath of peace flowing in with the breath, grounding down into Mother Earth, settling, opening, relaxing with presence, open to the waves of energy, get the information, and let all the voices to be heard. Let all the voices be heard, asking, in your inquiry about what's going on for the other person. Is that all? Is there more? So that all the voices are heard, because the only potential for creating a positive outcome to a conflictual situation, the only win is a win-win. And if I win over because of superior whatever over the other, and I won and come away with a victory, but the other feels they lost, then that's a lose in the long run for both of us, for all of us. So the only way we can open a doorway to realize the potential of a win-win is to understand and encourage that all the voices be heard. All the voices, not just the pretty nice ones, but the anger, the self-pity, the bitterness, the narcissistic one, the whatever. All the voices need to be brought out from the darkness where they've been pushed to because they're uncomfortable to see, sit around a fire and let their voices be heard. And we don't want to repress or deny any voice, because that'll be the one that sinks the boat. They all need to be heard. And that's what Mindell calls true democracy. So that's a starting place for creating an ally relationship with conflict instead of a negative, reactive one.
So many thoughts and questions about this, because
good.
Going back to like nature's wisdom principles, which are our oldest principles that, at least as far as I understand things in the world, that we can go back to the wisdom of that. And so thinking of like the conflict of, I'm seeing someone, Charles in the comment, talked about restructure and repair with love. And so if we can operate from a principle of like, let's assume nature is love. But the like conflict of like an elephant charging through a jungle, right? Like those things are huge. They're so sweet and generally docile, but they like destroy foliage as they go left and right, and they eat a ton, right? So somebody could look at that and think that they're destructive, but then their dung is so rich in fertilizer, and it helps rebuild the forest and create a nourishing soil. And or like even fires, right? Like fires, like what we just had in LA, they're horrific for the people who get hurt in the way of the fires, and the power of them to burn up what isn't working, and then to create the ashes go back into the soil and create a more fertile place for growth. So like from the nature perspective, I can like agree with you on what you're saying. But then I think of in terms of like room for all voices and trusting the process. And again, from sort of the big picture, I absolutely do. And yet, and I know you get frustrated about this too, like in some of the current socio-political conversations, goings on, like all voices need to be heard. And some of us are like, you're not telling the truth. You're not telling the truth. And I mean, we find that, well, I'll just speak for myself, like in interpersonal relationships, it's easy to get into like, no, you said this. No, you said this. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Right. So those kind of conflicts. Or I thought we agreed on this. Well, I thought we agreed on this. Or yeah, we agreed on this. And things change all the time. The latter is what I find to be most helpful, because we live in a constantly shifting universe, but we try to make agreements that we can all live up to. I'm kind of rambling.
Well, I'm not clear what your point of difference is.
I guess just this like ultimately trusting in the all voices, needing a voice, needing to be heard, and the pain that those voices can inflict, particularly when some folks feel like they're not speaking the truth or something, right? So I don't know. Any thoughts on anything?
Well, my mind.
Anybody in the chat want to chime in?
Well, my mind's still going back to a statement you made a few minutes ago,
okay,
where you spoke about perceiving nature as love.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about when a tsunami comes and kills thousands and thousands of people, or a drought destroys the crops and the people starve, or a volcano erupts and your family's killed, or a mudslide or flood or whatever. So to perceive nature as love, that's like I think an ego projection of something that's not based on the reality of what happens, but from a larger perspective.
But you could say, I mean, not to make light of the tragedy and the pain and the loss and things that are happening today. There's pain within that, but from the big picture of
that's
nature,
where I was going. Yeah.
I think it is always moving toward life.
Well, it's
maybe not on an individual basis, but from a big universal arc perspective.
I think there's a growth, power, energy inherent in the universe manifesting as the universe. What from the singularity one where there was no thing, what's happened over the last 14.5 billion years, the birth of new manifestations of material reality, leading up to the stars, and the atoms exploded in the stars, to the human bodies and Mother Earth with air and water and growth, that the cycles of nature on whatever level, the micro, the macro, including the universe and the stars have come into birth from the star dust, have their period of time, have reached their fullest blossoming, and then either in a huge explosion or a slow drawing out, they return back into no thing, into nothingness. So the cycles of creation, of death, of rebirth. And so, from an ego perspective, is nature is nature love? No, because it killed my family. It did this, and the earthquake. But from the larger perspective, that's transcendent of the ego. The cosmic cycles are constantly working through the life, death, rebirth to evolve to higher levels of complexity and higher levels of consciousness and development. And that happens through working with the challenges on all the different levels of our multidimensional being. We don't grow in the comfort zone toward our highest potentials. We go through how we create responses to that, which pushes our reactivity buttons, which comes from that smaller identity, the constriction of the smaller identity. So from a cosmic level of the universe is working to support us in growing to our highest potentials through our responses to conflict. The essence energy of the universe is infinite light and infinite love.
Do you need some water? Some love in action.
Thank you. Thank you, Mother Earth and water spirits, for the gift of water. Oh.
So a couple of things just reflecting back around conflict and bringing shamanic perspective to conflict, recognizing that conflict is inevitable, recognizing that as conflict arises, we always have a choice in how we respond. Holding
if we're conscious and present in the moment, we have a choice.
Being conscious and present in the moment, and keeping in mind the sort of bigger arc, bigger scale of things, and any visualization you would like to lead people through, or do we feel like we've already worked through enough this morning?
I'll take you into when I was first learning the techniques of rock climbing. And so I invite you on the inner plane to join me in Yosemite Valley, working with the Yosemite Mountaineering School, of learning how to work the knots and the ropes for safety and protection in a climb. So fast forward 3 or 4 hours of climbing and 400 or 500 feet up on a steep cliff face, and roped up, of course, for safety with a belayer who's above me. I get to a stuck place and I can't see anything, any place to put my feet or hands, and my body's trembling with fear. And the climbing instructor rappels down to where I am and says, "Trust the process. Trust the process." And I was furious. And then he climbed back up and got out of sight, leaving me in anger, number one, but also since no one was going to get me out of that stuck situation, then look deeper. I've got to get myself out of this. Look deeper. Trust the process that there is potential handholds that you've missed, and footholds, and there are cracks and little nubbins that you can look for with more attention, and then try them. Give it your best shot to move that hand up to that little crack and that foot up 2 inches to that little nubbin and step on it, and then move the other hand up to that other crack and trust the process. And lo and behold, as angry as I was and frightened as I was, I did trust the process, the possibility that there were ways of finding holes to climb up to position of safety, and lo and behold, there were. And so the teaching from that is that there's more information available on deeper levels if we overcome our reactivity and open our sensitivity with greater quality of consciousness to what's going on, get the information. And there's always information coming from spirit, from nature, about how to create a response to it when we accurately see what's going on and trust the process that we have the ability to create a response to the challenging situation to help us move through it towards some kind of resolution, some kind of healing, some kind of transformation. That the process of getting there, as well as the outcome, is the enrichment of our lives. Opportunity to enrich the quality of our felt lives. And this is the day we have opportunity to do that. May it be so.
May it be so. I think every kid should have to do a little bit of rock climbing in their life, because it's the greatest teaching around. I'll tell you guys a funny story about that. So when we were kids, we would go out climbing a lot with him. And one time we were climbing up the
him
rock,
being me,
my dad, we were climbing the rocks by the Woodacre firehouse. And I got to a place that I'm like, I'm stuck. I don't know, it was like 7 or something. I'm stuck. Can you let me down? And you're like, no.
Obnoxious.
Like, you're so mean. That you're like, look around, you'll find a way. And I was like, there's no handholds, and I mean, I'm trembling, you got the shakes and you're just like, yeah, just hang out there. And I was like, I don't know what I was saying in my head, but it probably wasn't nice.
Shame on you.
Yeah. But then eventually I did see a handhold. And then eventually I saw another one, and then another one, and a foothold. And then I made my way to the top. And so this, I think that's just really a good reminder of, like, when there's conflict, sometimes you can't get out of it. You just have to be in it. But if you're really in it and you keep your mind and your eyes and your heart open, you start seeing little things that you can grab onto to pull yourself out of it.
Trust the process.
Yeah, trusting the process.
There's always help available.
Yeah.
On some level, some dimensionality of our being, if we activate the right channel and open it up. And that starts with the belief that it's possible to access wisdom guidance to help me create a response to the situation that grows me in a good, healthy way.
I just saw in the comments someone said about it, and it confirms it's not always about me. And I just want to acknowledge that, like, yeah, it's not about us, because it's not about me or you, because there's so much else going on in the world. And yet there's only me that's having my experience, and there's only you that's having your experience, and there's only you that's having your experience. And that's I don't ever want people to feel like they have to, like, rush through their own experience to get to the peace in the conflict or something, or to feel like they just, I guess I just brought up in me wanting to affirm that each of us matters, and each of you matters. Like you said at the beginning, and you say so often, there's a reason that you were born at this time, and there's a reason you're here today, and we're all in this together. And so
Juntos.
Yeah.
Todos unidos, all united.
Yes. So to each of you who are dreamers and doers and climbers and shakers, thank you. Listeners together. Anything else for this
Yes,
week?
that mantra of slow, go, push, no, flow and grow, trust, let go. Yahoo.
Yahoo. All right, everyone. Thank you again for being here with us. Thanks for sharing, Bobby. Thank you to your teachers and mentors. I've been thinking so much lately about bridge building, and I really just want to send some gratitude out to the Indigenous people that came into your life and that felt your heart and opened up to you and allowed you to be a bridge builder, and for your courage and finding ways to be a bridge builder, and the role that I am doing in my life doing that too.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
I'm just goofing off.
All the bridge builders out there.
I'm goofing off. You're doing the real work.
Sometimes.
Bye.
All right. Thank you all. Take care. See you next week. Remember to get his book if you haven't ordered it yet. Okay.